Hello, a very good morning to you. You're watching Sky News Breakfast. A reminder of our top stories. At least 15 people have been killed in an Israeli strike on a convoy of ambulances in Gaza. The United Nations warns that nowhere is safe. Israel's Prime Minister rejects calls for a ceasefire until all the hostages held by Hamas are freed. 88 British passport holders have been added to the list of people with permission to leave Gaza and cross into Egypt from today. Well, here in the UK, tens of thousands of people are expected to join demonstrations calling for a ceasefire. The chief rabbi has accused pro-Palestinian protesters of standing alongside extremists. Also making news, an earthquake has killed more than 100 people in Nepal. The tremors were so powerful, they were felt in India's capital 500 miles away. Extreme weather in Europe. Storm Ciarán leaves parts of the UK flooded as Spain battles wildfires. Well, with us this morning to review the papers is political correspondent at Politics Joe. It's Ava Santina Evans, and political reporter at The Sun, Noah Hoffman. We have so much to delve into, but we will start, Noah. This is The Guardian, and it's Sir Keir Starmer, and I'm wondering how much the conflict in Israel either makes Sir Keir Starmer this leader that he really wants to be, or it has the potential to split the Labour Party and really topple their chances of winning that general election next year.
So, in terms of the sort of effect that the conflict is having on Labour, it's interesting. We see the most recent polling shows that Labour's staying steady. There hasn't been an impact.
Movement, yeah.
Starmer's personal approval ratings have come down, but we can't definitively extrapolate from that it's related to the conflict, although you can assume with the conflict being the story of the day that it could have had a significant impact. In terms of the Labour split, this has been Sir Keir Starmer's biggest leadership test in a long time. For the past sort of 12 months before October 7th, he'd really sort of been cruising through very little mistakes. Labour conference went off without a hitch, really. His speech went down really well. You know, there were no major dramas. Now, he's really being tested because he has this issue where he wants to take a principled stance that is based off of what advisors are telling him, the intelligence briefings he gets as well, which is that humanitarian pauses in the conflict are very important, but in the long term, Israel has a right to defend itself and a right to eliminate the terrorists who are not only, you know, having a huge, devastating impact on people in Israel, but also in Palestine as well. However, a lot of Labour voters are Muslim. There are Muslim MPs who are very, very empathetic and very, very passionate about this horrible plight of the Palestinians, and they are not happy with Sir Keir Starmer not taking that extra step to say not just a humanitarian pause, but a complete definitive end to the hostility.
Yeah, you know, Ava, sources saying that actually what Labour are doing is blindly following the US line about not having this ceasefire. Many people saying this could have presented itself for Sir Keir Starmer as a real statesman opportunity. And that's the worry, isn't it, of where he sits after this.
So speaking to strategists, I think the plan was to basically fall in line behind the Conservatives, let them take the rein, take the helm, and then they would just follow suit, not anticipating that they would have, 250 councillors basically sign a letter to say we are going to resign unless you call for a ceasefire. And I also don't think he was anticipating that Sadiq Khan, Andy Burnham and Anna Sarwar, three prominent Labour figures, would all come out and also say, without a ceasefire, we can't support you. And I think that, there are big conversations bubbling away in Labour. You've got so many resignations that are going on throughout the councils. Electorally, it's not simply, could this swing them the election? It's the campaigners that might not now want to go out and campaign for Labour on the next election. Less boots on the ground, out in your constituencies mean less seats.
Yeah. Moving on slightly here, because I thought I hadn't heard from Gary Lineker recently on many subjects, but he has been talking. It's in the Telegraph, Ava. What's his take on the protest then?
So, yeah, front page of the Telegraph. So yesterday he tweeted in response to Suella Braverman announcing that she would crack down on people attending these protests and, basically disparaging anyone who was going to attend the pro-Palestine march next week on Armistice Day. Gary Lineker said that marching for a ceasefire would essentially be in line with Armistice Day. Obviously, that is that, a ceasefire and armistice are basically synonyms. That was his argument, and the Telegraph are not particularly happy about him taking a political view, but they never really are with Gary Lineker.
Well, I wonder whether the BBC will have anything to say with that. They changed the rules recently, didn't they, to allow freelance presenters to have more of a say. But we'll move on. We'll leave that there and see what the backlash is. Noah, let's turn our attentions to The Guardian, because this story about university... take it away, because it's quite an intriguing one, isn't it?
It's intriguing, if not very depressing. So what we have here is Leeds University football teams based off of, I believe, the Jewish Society and an Arab Society, and players in the Arab Society football team have allegedly decided that they don't want to play a Jewish football team. And I think this is just one sort of really classic example of what the Jewish community in the UK are having to deal with right now. It's really not an easy time. People are scared to wear symbols of their ethnicity, whether that's a kippah, the skull cap, or a Star of David. These people are just uni students. They want to go out, they want to have a rave, they want to skip their lectures, try and just pass exams, and then play a game of football. And to have these other people, these other students say, on the basis of your ethnicity, of your religion, I don't want to play against you. That is racism, and I think it's appalling, and I really hope that Leeds University takes a very tough stance against this.
I think we're going to see more and more of this play out, because we're in a situation now where it is a culture war, isn't there? There's you're this side, I'm that side, and there's no sense of let's have a conversation here. And this is an example of two sides really just kind of not really playing ball, as it were.
Yeah, well, it's a footballification of the conflict, right? So, you're either on one, you're on a team and you've got to stick to it. But, I think that there needs to be some sort of guidance that comes down from universities, and also just for people to respect that the anti-racist movement is not an anti-racist movement unless you are including all ethnicities in that and all religions in that, and just singling out Jewish students and not wanting to play with them. I mean, we haven't heard from the Arab football team, but I mean, it does just seem like quite a clear case of anti-Semitism.
Well, and that's the thing. It's things like music, it's things like sport that mean you take away whatever political issues, and that's a moment of bringing people together, isn't it? And that's a shame that we come to that point. Noah, you picked another story, didn't you, from the Mirror this time, and the headline, Tory MPs racist rant. Unfortunate headline here in the Mirror today.
Yeah, so we have this veteran Tory MP, he's very senior, Colonel Bob Stewart, who was found guilty of a racially aggravated public order offence. He told an activist, a Bahraini activist, to go back to Bahrain. Bob maintains that in the context of what he was saying, it was not racist, but I think when you read those words together, it's hard to see why. Why would you choose that type of language? He was trying to make a point about, I believe, human rights abuses. He served in Bahrain as a British Army officer, but you just really, it's not very hard to be careful about the language you use, and to, take account sensitivities, and this is not a good look for the Tories, who already have had issues in this area.
Okay, ladies, we'll leave it there for now. Thank you once again for your insights. It's much appreciated. Thank you so much. Well, you're watching Sky News Breakfast. Thank you so much for joining us.